Welcome to Judge Call Europe. On this channel, I will upload recordings from live seminars we are running in person in London with the help of P9 card game store in Canary Wharf. If you want to join our seminars, you can find the link to our Facebook in the description to see when the next seminar will take place. If you enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing to the channel and sharing the video with your friends. And if you have any suggestions to the topics I should cover, please leave the comment below the video. I read them all and it helps with the algorithm. Please enjoy the video.
The first topic we're going to talk about is what it takes to be a judge. And we do have one active judge in here. Everyone else is either aspiring judge or starting judge, I assume. So what we will cover, expectations and responsibilities. So as I mentioned, is what's expected of a judge. What should you be expecting of yourself and your colleagues on the event? And what are your responsibilities? So what you should be looking out for. Certifications and opportunities. There is a journey in card games. Usually it's the same journey, but I'm going to cover that every card game does different things. We're going to talk about different tournament organizers and how to approach multi-game judging. The last one is more of a mention. I'm not going to go too in depth, but I myself hold active judge certification for multiple games. So first things first, who can tell me what would you think are expectations of a judge? What should you be as a judge? Yeah, it's one answer. Yes, definitely. Not only to the players, to the other staff members, to people who are in the venue. Yes. So, friendly demeanor. You always need to be approachable. Players, spectators, visitors should not be afraid of approaching you. You should not be going around grumpy. If you are getting stressed and you think that you're not as approachable, talk to your team lead, see if you can do something behind the stage. But you should always be, you need to know how the game works. That's, if you're judging the game, you need to know the rules. Even if you're not an active player, because I've seen that a lot as well. You can judge a game without being an active player, but you need to understand how the game works. You need to understand what's the meta game. You need to understand what you're looking at. It's not just you being asked a very specific question and you only get your understanding at that point. You need to be able to see the game and grasp the basic situation of the game as you're looking at it, and then just get more details. Procedure knowledge. It's not only rules, it's procedures. How the penalties work. How do you approach the player? What's the time extension policy? Every game has its own time extension policy. Some have a limit on the time extensions. Yu-Gi-Oh is massive on that one. And being impartial, that was mentioned. Even if your friends are playing, you need to make sure that you're staying impartial. If you have an opportunity and it's someone that is very close to you, you should excuse yourself from that call. My husband plays Flesh and Blood with me. And anytime he was in my area when I was working on a calling and he made a judge call, I would explain the situation, and I would immediately grab another judge. I would not take the call from my husband because it could be conveyed that I'm being partial towards him. Even if the player didn't know about that, I just rather keep it on the safe side. You need to make sure that you can stay impartial. You can't also go in and look at someone, I don't like your t-shirt, so you are getting a game loss. That's power harassment. So after expectations, we have responsibilities. So what are you responsible for as a judge? Go to the event. You're working at the event. What is your responsibilities? What do you think? That's a wishful thinking, but yes. That's optional. Anything else? Yes. It's also not only Pokemon. A lot of tournament organizers do that because they're open events. Anyone can enter, so you need to keep it safe. When I was in Bologna recently, I had a situation where we needed to ask a player to leave because of the offensive material that the player was wearing. So maintaining the tournament environment, that being either being polite to people, making sure that it's PG friendly, but it's also as simple as spotting trash, spotting spillages, fixing the table numbers, the cloths on the tables. All of that makes it to environment. If you approach the table as a player, table is askew, table number is knocked down, and the cloth is dragging on the floor, it's not a nice area for you to sit down and play the game. If you don't have anything to do, just go around, fix the tables around you, still pay attention to the players. If you see a spillage, of course, you don't clean the spillage yourself, but there's always a cleaning crew available at the venue. So make sure that you communicate with that, picking up some trash as well, making sure players pick up the trash as well. Active overview of the game. That has become a massive thing recently, is active judging of the games. I know a lot of games are still juggling which way they want to approach that, but there are games that are currently encouraging, and I agree with this one, if you spot the mistake and you understand the whole game state currently, and you spot a mistake, to intervene in the game and maintain the game state for the players. That's what it means to be an active judge. So you're not just waiting for someone to call you, you're not waiting for issues to occur. You actively trying to maintain as many game states as possible. So standing down and observing one table, another table, a table with a match that you expect to be problematic, it's always worthwhile to just see what's happening and see if anything is going to come up with that. If you see a card that you know has problematic rulings, just stick around, see if they know how that's being resolved. Resolving any calls in timely manner, that has been mentioned by Thomas, I think. Yes. Sorry, I'm bad with names. But yes, we want to resolve everything in a timely manner. You approach the table, you check the time, and you make sure you resolve it. You're not rushing through the ruling. You're not rushing through solving any issues, but it needs to be done in timely manner. It's a difficult skill, but it comes in with experience. And always being aware of the time. As I mentioned, some games like to limit the amount of time extension you can do. Yu-Gi-Oh! Had the rule, I don't know if they still do, where you can only give maximum of 5 minutes extension. If you want to do more, you need to confirm with your team lead. And helping TO solve any issues. Someone might grab you and say, we need to move this product because something has happened. You are part of that stuff for the TO. Yes, you're responding to your team leader and in turn to the head judge, depending on the team, but it might come down from a TO that you need to help out. Or it might be a situation that you're working on a side event, but they need your help with main event. Whatever it is happening, ultimately we are all part of one big team. Even if it's not your team, you might be sent out to help someone else for a while. Never go out and say, well, I can't help you. It's not my job, I'm not helping you. That is not something that any TO, any judge team would like to see, unless what you're doing is extremely important. You are looking after the top 8 decks for Pro Tour, for example, or EUIC. You can't leave the table because then the decks are unattended. But then no one is going to ask you to do that. But also when you refuse, have a reason and not just say, I'm not doing it because I'm not doing it. I've seen people do that. This is not my job. I'm not going to be doing it. I'm not going to be helping you. That's why I want to mention this. It's my personal thing that I've seen some people with that. Certifications. Journey. on being a judge is usually, in many card games, at the beginning the same. And then down the line it splits, depending on the card game. So level 1 certification. Although I know some games are also doing level 0. Level 0 in different games means different things. In Bandai card games, for example, it means the person deciding all the rules. In Flesh and Blood, it means the person who knows how the game works. So depending on the game, we're not covering a level 0 here. Level 1 is your first step towards becoming a judge. It's usually a minimum requirement to staff an event. And it concentrates primarily on rules enforcements and not on penalties. So you might want to think that because you are a judge, you need to know how to penalize the players, but that's actually not your main job. Your main job is a rules enforcement. So who can tell me what's the difference between penalties and enforcement? Yes, simple enough. Examples of enforcement. Mm-hmm. Yes. So fixing a game state problem. You look like you wanted to say something. That's fine. It's, again, we're all in here to I'm using the terms that I learned recently because I used to use different terms as well in the past. This is ever evolving field. So on this seminar next year, I might be covering the same topics with new terms, with new changes on how we're running. This is ever evolving field. We always change, we always adapt. We're always trying to provide things the best to the players as we can. Level 2 certification. This is your main competitive level certification. This is what you need to staff usually events on the professional level. So EOIC, Pro Tours for Flesh and Blood as well. Bandai doesn't have a well-versed level 2 program yet, and they require level 2 for the head judge instead of professional level events. But that's because of how the judge program currently looks like. Still, level 2 exists. So it's a competitive level certification. It's a base requirement to staff competitive and higher events. In Flesh and Blood, for example, running a pro quest, you need to be a level 2. You should be a level 2 to run a pro quest in the shop. Yes, you should be. Expects the understanding of tournament structure and organization. So what does it mean? Every TO does things their own way and yet very similar. The tournament structure and organization talks about the different teams. How are you doing certain tasks? How are you approaching players? What is the timekeeping? All of those things, different stations, where to find certain answers, how to communicate with people, when to come into the event. All of those things are dependent on the tournament organizers. Everyone is similar, but everyone does things their own way. So level 2 is someone who understands that, can convey it, and can pick it up. You need to be able to teach someone else how to do it as well. You need to be able to explain it to the players for as much as they need to know about this. And additional certifications. So every game does their own things. Magic used to have level 3 for, was it head judges, I think?
It's varied over time. They went from 3 levels to 5 levels, back to 3 levels, and now it's 5 levels again.
Is it 5 again?
The sort of level 3 and up tends to be the people working as team leaders or bigger events, not just smaller events, and they have full requirements teaching the top.
Okay. Flesh and Blood does team lead certification and head judge certification. So it's similar to going into level 3, but rather than confuse people with different levels, It's just a separate certification you can do. So the understanding of the rules and penalties is the same between a level 2 team lead and a head judge. Is the enforcement, the approach to that is to show that you can manage a bigger team, enforce the rules, and you understand the ins and outs of very, very detailed and very obscure sometimes interactions, because as a head judge, you're going to be answering those. But the base level of understanding the rules and the procedures between level 2 and the head judges is the same. That's why Flesh and Blood, rather than introduce another level, just does the certification that you know the rules and you can run a team or run a whole event. So you can get your certifications that way. Opportunities. So local events, primarily community building. You are there to become part of a community. You are there to help build up the scene, play the games while you judge. You don't necessarily need to be judging. A lot of times I go into an event, I will judge and I will play. If there is a judge call in the middle of my game, I'll get up. If we get into the time, I just give up the game because I'm there to have fun, not to force draws because I was answering a judge call and that ended up being more difficult than a casual event should have. But it has happened. Competitive events, so being part of a bigger team and understanding the ins and outs. Competitive events, Flesh and Blood has callings, Pokemon has regionals, I think it is, because EUIC is the professional level event. Magic the Gathering would be Grand Prix.
The top tier event is Pro Tour, and
But that would be professional.
then we have regional championships. And
They also changed that so many times.
actually, the biggest opportunity of all in Magic is MagicCon.
Then Bandai has only competitive events. They don't have professional events. It's regionals or card fests for Bandai. Lorcana has technically DLCs, but I also know that they're creating a new series of tournaments. But that's neither here nor there. Professional events, so be part of the team on much bigger scale. Professional events, the teams are in hundreds. In Further London for Flesh and Blood, we had 132 judges, I think, and 20 admin staff. Lorcana event, which was technically competitive, still had 95 judges in Birmingham and 12 admin staff. So it is going in numbers. This is like the big event. That's where you have designated teams, sometimes 2 different teams doing the same thing, just split apart. Pokemon EUIC, massive event because it's not only card games, it's video games, all of the video games. So there's a lot happening at professional events. If you ever want to progress up to being a head judge, you will need to do multiple of those and you will need to do them at every single position there is. You need to be able to be part of any team, manage that team, and be able to explain, teach, which is, of course, the final position, the team lead, head judge. You can lead a team of your own. If you're a team lead, you're running the team assigned to you by a head judge. If you're a head judge, you lead the team of team leads. Ultimately, most of the time, head judge is not going to directly interact with a floor judge unless necessary. And that's only going to be working in direct appeals. But I know in a lot of games, the direct appeals still go through the team lead first. So you talk to your team leads, you say there's going to be an appeal. The team lead helps you organize cover for the table. Then you go talk to the head judge and explain it. But it's still the head judge is not managing you in that situation. If you're a team lead, the head judge is a person above you. That's the person that creates your schedule. That's the person that assigns you to the position and that assigns you your team. And you as a team lead are going to manage your own team. So this is your opportunity. There's a lot of other opportunities. This is like the journey for a judge. there's a lot of other opportunities. You have opportunities, conferences before the events. I know a lot of games run them. I know for a fact Magic runs them, Flesh and Blood runs them. I don't know if Magic still runs them.
Not so much anymore.
Okay. A bit about tournament organizers we have in Europe. As I mentioned, I actually don't have many for Magic. I literally have only one for Magic, and it's the big one, Funfinity, in the past known as Tournament Center. So they are the biggest tournament organizer in Europe. They're currently heading Pokemon, Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Flesh and Blood, Lorcana, Star Wars Unlimited, and I think they have something else that I completely missed in here. They do a lot of things. A lot of publishers for the first tournaments in Europe will reach out to them first. If you want to be working card games, it's definitely important to be part of Funfinity Discord server where they do all of their staffing announcements. I did print out a QR code with all those links, and of course I left it at home. I will be posting a Linktree link on the Facebook page for the judge call as well. That is going to be on regular updated with all the different invite links to Discord servers, so you can join those Discord servers for whatever games that you're interested in. OPE, so Organized Play Events. They're a UK-based company that run Bandai card games and Star Wars Unlimited mostly. They do run smaller Lorcana events as well, and nothing on the big scale, but they're the premier organized play for Bandai card games if you're interested in that. CS International, that's a company that is run by a person who manages premier organized play for Bandai. That's the company that is overviewing all of the Bandai card game events in Europe. And if you are part even on the OPE or Funfinity events that they are running, CS International is going to be there in one way or another. They're the company managing the streams, which are now officially sanctioned by Bandai. So you will see them around. They also organize the events for Grand Archive, which is a Chinese-based card game that's been picking up recently. Quite decent sizing in America. They had their first event in Europe last year, and they're having next event, I think in January in UK. And I'm going to be a shill. I'm working for LR Events, which is currently the biggest Flesh and Blood organizer in Europe. Also, we have run the biggest Flesh and Blood events in Europe, either World Premiere or Pro Tour. There is yet an event to top that. We do have more games coming up, which are currently unannounced, so I'm not allowed to talk about them yet. But we do have more games coming up, so hopefully going to see more of us. We're UK based again, so we'll see where that brings. How to work multiple games. This is more of a, I'm going to touch on the topic. I want to make this as a different presentation down the line to talk in details, how to not get confused, how to prepare yourself for different games happening at the same time, how to manage all of that for anyone here who's interested in running multiple games outside of Thomas. No, everyone here is just for a single one, right? Understand your transferable skills. If you're working different games, especially for different publishers, understand which skills you need at both of those events. Every game concentrates on something else. So it's just understanding which of your skills are transferable. Managing rules knowledge. Make sure you can manage and not get as confused as I sometimes can get if I'm not prepared for the event. If you talk to me day to day, I will get confused between how to call creature cards, units, Pokemons, monsters, whatever. If I come into an event, I will always make sure that I refreshed myself on everything that's needed for that event. If I'm judging a Flesh and Blood event, I will make sure I'm refreshed on everything and I'm on top of every single ruling just before I go in. Know your boundaries and know how much you need that refresher if that ever comes up. understand the difference. The same way as you have transferable skills, there are skills that are going to be different between the games. And you need to understand what those differences are. And that's it. Anyone has any questions regarding being a judge? Anyone has anything they want to add in from their own experiences on being a judge that I might have missed?
I think one thing to remember is that for most judges, 80+% of the judging you'll do will be in local store content. It's fun and brilliant and also draining at times if you need to go to the bigger events or Pro Tours or Magic Cons, etc. Because they are very much
On average, if you are just a level 2 judge without targeting to be a team lead or a head judge, you should expect to do one big tournament for your card game a year. That is the expectations you should be having. If you're going in for a team lead or higher certification, that might up your numbers. But even then, you should not expect to do more than 4 events in a year. And that's if you go intercontinental. Yes?
So when you're talking about
Active judging, yes. Yes. On locals, if there is a ruling question and you have a dedicated judge, the players can ask. But because on locals you're also allowed to play in the event that you're judging, you can't be expected to go in and stop the game. If you are working on a competitive level event and you pass by a game and you notice something wrong, you can spot on what's happening. And if you feel that this is wrong, you can intervene and do the whole call with the players without them needing to call you. But that would be the active judging, yes.
Yeah. But what advice would you give somebody who wants to do more judging but still wants to play? Is there a way to balance both?
There is a way to balance both. It's a question, what is your target with judging? What parts of that do you enjoy? The same goes into the major events. Do you enjoy playing in those major events, or do you enjoy judging those major events? For me, I enjoy playing the game, but I absolutely suck at deck building. Because of that, I suck at coming up with a competitive event because I can only use someone else's deck. And usually you go into competitive event, you want to bring the spice. You want to bring in that unexpected value, something I was never really able to do well. Sometimes in Yu-Gi-Oh, but I got more lucky than anything else. It depends where you want to end up. If you want to end up more judging, then play at your local events, apply to judge 1-2 events in a year, and target the big events you want to judge versus the one you want to play. If you want to play both, if you, for example, are not a big fan of sealed format, try to apply for the judging the events that are in sealed format and play the ones that are in constructed. If it's other way around, apply other way around. If there is a format that you don't enjoy, for example, I'm not particularly enjoying high seas at the moment in Flesh and Blood. Just don't like gravy. Then you can judge in this format. And then if there's going to be a format that looks like you're going to enjoy, for example, Super Slam, if you're going to be enjoying that one, then play in that one. Manage your time, manage your applications. The thing is that as a level 2 judge, if you're not part of those big teams, like if you don't have TL certification, if you don't have head judge certification, you only get a handful of allowance, for the lack of better word, to make the events. You will not be taken in very often because there's a lot of judges. Everyone needs to have equal opportunity. Manage your applications. I think that applies to pretty much every game. If you're not a person at the top that has very unique experiences, that has a head judge certification, you're only going to be allowed to do just a couple of bigger events in a year because they want to make sure everyone has equal opportunity to work on the event.
Thank you for watching. I am uploading a new video every Sunday. so subscribe and click that bell icon for notifications so you won't miss any. If you have any questions or suggestions, please let me know in the comments below. See you next time!